joined right now by John Lipsky. He is the first Deputy Managing Director of the IMF, the International Monetary Fund. John, thanks so much for joining us here on Inside Track. Are the terms that the EU and the IMF imposed on Greece too stringent? Does Greece even have a chance?
First of all, the wording you used is not accurate. This is a Greek program. All you have to do is read the speech that the Prime Minister made to the Greek Parliament, and you will understand that they realized that they faced a situation in which they had to take action. They were willing to take strong, resolute, front-loaded, very visible and credible action, and that's what the Parliament is voting now. And our European partners and the IMF are willing to support that program with enough financing to give it a great chance of success.
John, I don't want to be, it's not about being critical of the IMF, it's just more about statistics. I mean, has any country ever cut spending equal to 13% or more of its GDP during a recession in the time period required, I mean, without being able, for example, to devalue its currency?
First of all, the amount of spending cut that's implied in the program is about 5% of GDP, about 4% of GDP, a little more than that, involved in new measures on the revenue side, and about 2% on the structural side. Obviously, the situation is very difficult. We would rather not be facing these problems, but we are where we are. The Greek authorities understand the seriousness of the situation and are taking the measures that offer the best alternative and the best options for the Greek economy at this time and Greek society.
John, how worried are you about what you're seeing in Greece? Deadly riots, and how does that change the way that you look at what we might see evolve in Spain and Portugal?
First of all, of course, the outcome yesterday, the deaths of innocent people, is tragic, and it's obviously a difficult situation. The Greek authorities understand the situation, and the Greek people understand the situation. Again, I look at what the Greek authorities themselves are saying about what they need to do, that they can't be deterred by protests, and certainly not by violent protests. The Greek people, they are confident, understand in broad terms the need for action. And of course, the part of the reason why the European authorities and the IMF are willing to support this is not just for the benefit of Greece, although that's the heart of the matter, but also because of the potential for spillovers in the rest of Europe.
Let me ask you this question. Do you think markets are behaving rationally right now?
Well, frankly, there's no point in discussing that. Markets are where they are. And it's obviously clear that in the wake of the actions that were taken to counteract the financial crisis and the economic downturn in 2008, 2009, there is a legacy of high deficits and debt in virtually all the advanced economies. And there is a need to take adjustment measures, generally fiscal measures, but also structural measures to improve the balance in the economies and outlook in virtually all the advanced economies. For some of the countries in the euro area, the need for action is clear, and markets understand that. This is the way markets work. They don't work in smooth fashion. The pressures are here, but clearly the governments involved understand the need for action, are in the process of implementing measures, and the markets will in time respond to the adequacy of those measures.
Well, I have no doubt that the governments involved do understand the seriousness of the situation, John, but there is a long history of politicians underestimating the severity of the crises that they face and the markets taking steps in advance of that. Is Mr. Market right to price things the way things are being priced right now relative to the optimism that we hear from officials in Europe?
Well, the optimism that you hear is perfectly justified in the sense that there is a clear commitment to maintaining the economic stability, financial stability, and progress in the Eurozone and in the rest of the EU. That they have the will and the ability to take the measures that are necessary to produce that outcome. and in time markets will recognize it. After all, over the past year, there have been strong economic programs put in place in EU countries like Latvia and Hungary. Now, the unprecedented strength and support of the Greek program, I believe, and my colleagues believe, will ultimately garner the understanding and support of markets as well. And I'm sure that other countries, other authorities will follow the example and be taking the measures that are needed. The European authorities are willing to provide support that is needed, and so I'm quite confident that the outcomes will be positive.
John, I mean, we know the situation in Greece is far from settled, but since we're talking about the way that the markets are reacting, I mean, we've seen all kinds of sovereign debt be punished as far as credit default swaps go, indicating more and more fear in the market for Portugal, for Spain, even Italy and Ireland. Which country are you worried about most after Greece?
Well, frankly, it's in each one of these cases, and in all the advanced economies, there's a need for action. In Spain and Portugal, for example, and in Ireland, the deficits have been particularly high. There are programs that are being implemented to reduce that, very strong program in Ireland. And we will see the effects of those actions in the coming weeks and months.
John, do you have a contingency plan in place at the IMF for Spain and Portugal?
We're certainly in contact with these authorities, but let me be clear. There is no program discussion or negotiations underway at this time with any of these countries.
How much has the IMF factored in potential unintended consequences when you're all meeting together? How worried are you about the exposure that European banks have to sovereign debt?
Well, let's take this question a bit more broadly. Of course, that's one of our jobs, to be cognizant of the interrelationships between countries and economies, to understand the spillovers, the potential spillovers from one economy to the next, and the interlinkages between markets. So I don't know if you want to call those unintended consequences. It's just the nature of markets and the economies that we're dealing with. So, of course, we're paying close attention.